What's up, guys? Welcome to the Resars Podcast with Tech and Sports and Daily Refinement. Today, I want to talk about doing the best you can with what you have. And I think a lot of people have forgotten that when we both started, we didn't have all the stuff that we have right now, especially you. You're sort of doing it exactly the same way as when you started on a shoestring budget. So let's just start there. People have forgotten that you started with 35 bucks and you were very resourceful in the beginning.
Very resourceful in the beginning, even very resourceful now. Big believer, no cost, low cost. That's my philosophy when it comes to all of this stuff. So if it wasn't low cost, most times I would end up making something, developing something that would be strictly for my business. So the shipping station I built myself. My first racks that I built myself out of PVC because in the beginning you always have more time than money. And once you have, more money than time, you can go out and buy things instead of being as resourceful. But, the table that I take photos of the hats on, I found that table on the side of the road. So that's because back then I didn't have enough money for a table. The reason why I do flat lays is because I had a floor. Everybody has a floor. So very resourceful, always low cost, no cost. And the longer you could do that, the more money you can reinvest into your business and the faster your business grows.
And, I was looking at getting some supplies at Dollar Tree. You even mentioned you started with tape there.
Yep. Started with tape at Dollar Tree. The one around here, it has 10 rolls of tape for $1. I've bought so much tape that I still have tape from the dollar store that I've bought probably 8 to 10 years ago. But there's always something that you could be resourceful with. So that way you can keep the money inside of the business and keep growing the business because everyone knows you can go to any thrift store and spend $5 and turn it into 25. So like every extra $5 that you go out and spend, you're robbing your business of $25. Now, that's not to say don't make the necessary improvements and investments in your business, but this is the only business that you could do that I know of with literally no money to start. And eBay is even nice enough to charge you on the back end any kind of seller costs or fees. It's literally $0 to sell your first item. You just need a cell phone, and everybody has a cell phone.
And now I didn't even realize this. The QR code on your phone, the post office will print the label for you. That must be recent.
Very, very recent, but um, you can get a QR code from eBay. You can bring your phone to the counter at the post office, and the post office is supposed to print you a label. Some people have said their post office doesn't do it, but they do have that capability with USPS. So, you don't even need a printer. You don't need labels. You don't need a lot of stuff. You just need something to sell, the motivation to do it, and either a cell phone or a computer. That's it.
So when you were at Dollar Tree, you bought the Scotch tape, right?
It was not Scotch tape at the Dollar Tree. It's Dollar Tree tape. It works just as fine. But I used to go to the dollar store and get tape, and I would also buy bubble mailers there because I didn't know about poly bags, and I would get like two or three bubble mailers for $1 every time, and I would handwrite the addresses for many many years, bring them to the post office, have them type them in, and I would bring home the receipt and type in those tracking numbers back onto eBay.
Also, the local library should have printers for you. And also, people had mentioned on the last few videos on my channel that printers are very common at thrift stores. So if you brought some paper, you could get a printer for under 20 bucks probably.
Totally. The printer that I use to this day, I buy every Black Friday for $50, and I buy three or four of them every year. So even brand new printers are relatively cheap nowadays. The printer costs less than the replacement ink or toner. So
That's
whenever
right.
the ink goes bad or the toner goes bad, you just buy a new printer.
I think people are getting really, really creative. There wasn't anybody that said that it's not realistic to sell things that you already own. Did you sell anything that you owned when you started?
No, I didn't. I started with doing cell phones from Craigslist to eBay. I didn't really have much of my personal stuff to sell, but after I did learn the platform, I did sell some of my jerseys that I had in high school that I no longer wore. And that's where the username comes from, Tekken Sports, because I used to sell phones and my football jerseys that I had. And then I branched off into selling jerseys. And from jerseys, I went off into selling clothing. So I did sell a lot of my jerseys. And I remember I sold an Andre Reed Buffalo Bills champion jersey for like 65 or $75, same day that I listed it. And it just so happened he was getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. So that was like the peak of that jersey. And I just got lucky and listed it that day. And when I went into a thrift store the following week, they had another champion NFL jersey for like $5. And I knew I had just sold my previous one for $65. And that's kind of where the light bulb went off that there's an arbitrage between the thrift and online.
And you haven't stopped reinvesting. I mean, it's been a long time since you just started, but you were going, buying one, get the money from it, then buy two, get the money from it, then buy four. And it adds up really fast. And this new challenge that I'm doing, I'm actually not in a hurry because I know that doubling up every week adds up faster than you can even list in the beginning. You just have to take your time.
Totally. And then once you do reach a point, because you are going to reach a point where you can't keep doubling up. There's not enough inventory to buy. There's not enough time in the day. And that's when I chose to go outside of eBay and use the eBay money to start other businesses or grow other businesses. So eBay money has always been rolled into something else. And then when those businesses make money, I roll that money into those other businesses, or they all kind of take care of each other with the money that they make. So I'm constantly reinvesting, and literally everything that I have today started with $35 that just continuously got rolled over and over again, making smart choices, smart investments, low cost, no cost, keeping as much money inside the business as possible.
Where does the mentality for long-term investing come from?
Just try to be safe with it. Like everything that I have is like safe. Everyone needs clothes. If eBay kicks me off, I can take all of my stuff to the flea market. You know, grass grows every day, trees grow every day. Like everything that I do is very safe. I don't do anything that is not pretty much a guarantee. I don't do the stock market. I'm very, very risk adverse. So if it's safe and it's a pretty much guarantee, I have no problem putting the money into it and then recouping the profit from it and doing something else with that money. And we're so lucky to sell on eBay because we can go into the thrift stores and every single item we buy, if you start today, can be like a guaranteed profit because you're able to look it up before you leave the thrift store on your cell phone. And there's no other business where you can just go and say, okay, if I buy this for $5, it has never sold on eBay for less than $20. Like there's not much more of a guarantee than that. And when you do that over and over and over again, it adds up quickly. As long as you don't take your profit and go out for the steak dinner every Friday night or go buy the Yeezys every Friday night, you have to be smart with your business and respectful of your business and keep that money inside of it so it can make you more money. But literally, you can take your phone and every buy can be a very safe buy in this day and age, which is totally crazy to think about because even when I started 12, 13 years ago, it was a guessing game. You would see stuff, go home and look it up, and then run back to the store and hope it's still there. You don't have to do that anymore. You just go in the corner, look it up. It's either yes or no, and you go home and list it and wait for someone to buy it. It's eBay is the safest thing and the highest ROI on the face of the earth. There is no safer, higher ROI business that I've ever seen.
I think I want to reiterate this. When you're just starting and you don't know what to sell, it's okay. When you find something that does sell, you can look for the exact
Right.
same thing. I think that's something that people maybe skip over because when you were selling on Craigslist, you could just save the searches of the things you were looking for. Do you remember if you searched multiple
Oh, I
times
was
a
searching
day?
all day, all day. And here was my trick. I lived in a city and I would search that city. And I would tell people I'm coming from outside of the city, so meet me here. And that gas station was at the end of my street. So I would always have them meet right by my house because I told them I was coming from far away. So like they were doing me the solid of meeting at a location for them, but it was always right at the end of my street. But I used to check Craigslist multiple times a day, and it was always for T-Mobile sidekicks. Then I moved into Blackberries. I did the 8310s, and after that, I just kept doing Androids, Blackberries. I never got into iPhones because they were always expensive with small margin because Apple never goes on sale.
Mm-hmm.
But I always did Androids and Blackberries. And then once they started doing the IMEI numbers and the ESNs, where you could buy a phone with a clean IMEI, take it home, the person reports it stolen, they get a new phone, and you're left with a brick. That's when it was too risky for me to do, and I had to find something else to do. But pre-IMEI, pre-ESN, always Androids, always Blackberries, flipped them from Craigslist to eBay, and there wasn't a lot of people doing that at the time.
And right now, there's kind of an opportunity with Facebook Marketplace. It's still relatively new. You can look for things local to you. Any Apple products except for the iPhone, I feel like are okay. Like iPads and MacBooks are very high cost, low margin items, but there's less fraud than iPhones. iPhones is very
You
challenging.
definitely have to know what you're doing when you're buying used electronics from people, because they could be iCloud locked, they could have passwords, they could have, if you're doing computers, they could have viruses. You might have to reload an operating system. Like, you definitely have to know what you're doing if you're going to shell out that kind of money for that small of a margin. Because if you get burned a couple times in the beginning, you may not be able to recover from that. And that's why I like clothes so much, because clothes don't have passwords. They're not going to break. Um, and they're very easy to build a business around, where you don't have to test clothing. But, there's a different way to excel at every single business out there. Um, Clothing is just one of the lowest barriers to entry. You don't have to be like a clothing specialist, like you would have to be like a computer specialist to really excel inside of that niche.
So Dylan posted on my Instagram today that he used to sell everything, but always started looking for Lego. And then his girlfriend said, "Why don't you sell only Lego?"
Right.
That had never actually occurred to him. So multiple searches a day for the same thing. I think, you know how when you're considering buying a new car, now that you see that car on the road all day because your brain is now locked onto that as the thing that you're doing. I think without that kind of mentality, you may never get into a groove because you'll just be distracted by whatever you find instead of narrowing it down. You're very specific on what you're looking for.
By being specific what you are looking for, it's the same thing like we talk about every day. I did a call last night for the group where we spent a long time about who is your customer, knowing your customer so you could build your business around your customer. It's the same exact thing. Who is my supplier? If I'm looking for Legos, I'm not going to go to a lot of thrift stores per se, because there's probably not going to be a lot of Legos laying around. What I would do is go to the flea market. And if you go to the flea market and you see people that, sell toys and have Legos pretty consistently, you can engage in a conversation and say, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for Legos. It's hard to engage in a conversation with someone and say, I'm looking for all of this stuff. Can you find me all of this stuff and bring it to me every weekend, and then I'll buy it? They don't know what to look for because you have too wide of a scope. But if you tell someone at the flea market who's out there sourcing 7 days a week as well, hey, I'm looking for Legos. If you buy it, I will be here every weekend, and I will be here to buy it from you. They will find the Legos for you. And all you need is a handful of those people out there looking. And now you have 5 or 6 people that are out there sourcing for you actively, along with you sourcing yourself. And then they know what they're looking for. But if you have a long laundry list of all of these things that you will accept, it's too confusing for anybody to try to help you find the things that you're looking for. So if you could be very specific with who your customer is and how you are going to acquire the items, That's how you'll be able to build your business and niche down. It's the same thing for me. I want clothing. I have people that source directly from the last stop of clothing in the United States of America. That's where all the clothing goes. That does not sell at the thrift, that does not sell here or there or there. It's clothing by the ton. If I told them I want boom boxes, DVDs, shoes, microwaves, and clothing, they wouldn't know where to begin or where to start to source for the stuff.
That's the same position beginners are in.
Right.
How do you look for things that are profitable? That's too broad. So before I forget, I want people to remember that one of the top tips for local arbitrage in general, when you meet somebody somewhere, it makes it's a more serious customer because that person has already mentally discarded that item when they put it in their car and they're driving to go somewhere to sell it. It's very different than they say, pick it up, I'm at work at 4 o'clock. It's different than if they physically go somewhere. I've heard some resellers say they say, I'm going to be here at this time. Can you stop by? Because then people are in the mode to sell. It's local arbitrage is tricky because if they don't show up, sometimes you lose that time.
Yeah, and you could spend a lot of time sitting around if they're running late. You could do a lot of time on blank missions where they don't show up and you just got to come back home. Very, very difficult. You have to have a lot of patience to do the local meetup. But if I were to do the local game all over again, I would do what I just talked about and try to find a handful of people that can also go out there and try to help me find stuff too, and then bring it back over to me. And I would pay them for what they have found, and then I would list it and I would sell it. That's probably the best way to do the game locally. And you do the same thing. You go to the flea market and you have people that already have stuff set aside for you that are looking themselves 7 days a week, just like how you're looking 7 days a week. Now you have 14 days a week of sourcing and one person that's going to bring you stuff, everything that you're looking for, everything that you want. The prices are already negotiated. You hand them the money. You really don't even have to look at the stuff. You take it home, you bring it home. Your business has just doubled overnight by making that one connection.
Yeah, that pre-negotiated price is massive. That's one of the reasons why GameStop was so big at one point, because they had these guaranteed video game trade-in prices, and their used market exploded because people would go there and they knew how much they could trade it in for, and it actually turned into literally some people's full-time jobs, just finding games and trading it in, because the pre-negotiated prices creates a business relationship versus a one-off, one-time deal.
Surely, man. And even inside of GameStop, there were instances where you can buy a game from one location, take it to another one, and make money just doing it that way. So if you know how to play the game and all the rules to the game, then you cannot lose that game. But no matter what you're looking for, if you're looking for toys, if you're looking for video games, clothing, it doesn't matter. You can always form a business to business relationship. You can always find somebody that is willing to source and willing to help you out, because we might be the only knuckleheads that want to do everything. Take photos, list items, customer service, answer messages, store the items, ship the items. Not a lot of people want to do that, but a lot of people want to go out and find stuff and enjoy the treasure hunt. Those are the people that can help us with our businesses. And there's no cost in finding somebody to help you that enjoys treasure hunting. Sure, you have to pay them for the item, but that's low cost, no cost. They're just going to do what they do on a weekly basis, and they become a supplier for you and your business.
There's a gentleman that just posted on my Instagram that he only buys printers to resell from a printer repair shop. That's awesome, because people don't want to, and especially now the printers are so cheap.
Right.
The cost of repair is going to be more than getting a new printer. So if you have a relationship with a local brick and mortar, that's awesome. Be creative.
Not only that, you have to have the relationship. You can have any relationship you want. It doesn't matter. You have to be knowledgeable in the niche.
Yep.
He is knowledgeable enough to fix the printers. Yep. So he can buy any printer that business does not want. The same thing for your friend who does the shoes. Yep. He's a professional cobbler. So he can buy any pair of shoes. I can't buy any pair of shoes, but I can find someone to go look for them for me. Mm-hmm. But if they bring me shoes that need repair, I can't buy those. But when it comes to clothing, I am knowledgeable about clothing, so I can find as many sources available as possible. So if you are not an expert, if you are not knowledgeable in the niche, again, it's very hard to give direction on what you are looking for, what is acceptable for you, because everyone is going to have a different threshold. So, like your friend Tino, who does the shoes, almost everything is acceptable to him at a certain price. If they're all beat up and they need a lot of repairs, but once he repairs them, they're $100, he can probably still pay $40, $50 because he can do the repair. He's learned the skill and he knows how much that item will sell for. If I look at that pair of shoes, I don't want to pay no more than $2 because I don't know how to fix them and I can't sell them for $100. I can sell them for $20 to Tino, who's going to fix them and flip them on top of me.
That's right.
So you have to be knowledgeable within your craft. And once you're knowledgeable within your craft, it opens up a wide spectrum of things that maybe only you can deal with in your location.
There's a lot of people that do refurbishing.
Sure.
If you look at eBay, they actually have those coupons that pop in 20% off Bose refurbished, or Logitech is a big one. Mouses, webcams, you can buy refurbished ones. And if you become a person that can repair them to a certain threshold, eBay will give you that certification. There's people who are seller refurbished certified. And I think that's something that you can spend a little bit of time on and figure out how to just do one specific thing. You could just repair the iPhone 9.
You could.
Just one of them. And you go ahead.
Just like how I said, I can buy that beat up pair of shoes for $2, sell it to Tino for $20. He can make some money on it too. Back in my Craigslist days, I used to run an ad looking specifically for broken computers, broken cell phones, broken iPods. I would repair them and I would sell them on eBay. But I was getting so much stuff, I couldn't repair it. And I was getting it for so cheap because it was broken. I would just sell it on eBay for parts. And I made 6 figures a year buying broken items and selling broken items on eBay for another person to fix and another person to resell. There's enough room in all of this to make a living at each stage of the game. The same thing. The people who source for me make a great living. I make a great living by selling it to the final customer. Some people that I sell it to are not even the final customer. I sell to other people who are going to sell it to another final customer. My brick and mortar store sells to other brick and mortar stores so they can sell it to their customers. I was buying broken iPods, broken iPhones, broken computers, selling them on eBay to someone who's going to fix them, and then they're going to sell it to a final customer. There's so many different ways to make money. You just have to be knowledgeable of whatever piece of the game that you're in. And once you're knowledgeable about that piece of the game, then you know at what price point to buy items, and then you know how to find the items. You have to know all the pieces to the puzzle.
I want to give 2 more examples of people being very resourceful. Here, we don't have pawn shops, but a person messaged me and said that in his state, the pawn shop is required to hold the item for 30 days before they can sell it. So there's certain rules, and if you build a relationship with somebody, they may offer you the opportunity to sell it first. And that is big. If you're looking specifically for, let's say, for example, an amplifier for guitars, you could call every single pawn shop in America and ask if they have that amplifier and buy it from them because you know the price, you know the condition. You could do that. Or you could build a relationship with your local one, let them know you're looking for certain things. But I think that knowing what you can pay for it, understanding all the different conditions opens up all these new opportunities. And when you can help people do part of their job, that is the permanent relationship. So for me, one of the reasons why the connections with the flea market for me have been more robust is because I help sort. As I'm going through the items, I'm taking out items that need repair. I'm taking out items that, like as an example, their top category is bras. That's not one of my categories. Right. And their second top category is damaged. So there's a guy that comes in, buys all the I don't know what happens to them. They get turned into rags or they go overseas or whatever that is, but they're really cheap because they're broken. I can't believe their second category is broken clothing. So or stained. And you know, a lot of people donate a dress after there's a wine stain on it.
Sure.
So that is, I'm helping them do that for free while I'm sorting for myself. And that's how, you know, a lot of businesses get started because you're helping one business with something and then they
So
scratch your back.
totally. So, you know, finding these connections, calling the pawn shops, helping someone sort while you're picking items from them, all of that costs nothing. That's free. But like it does take effort to hit Craigslist, does take effort to hit Facebook Marketplace. It does take effort to hit all of these things and make all of these connections. And it does take effort to become knowledgeable inside of your niche so that you're able to have all of the pieces that you have to play with. So all of this stuff is free, no cost, but it takes effort. And you could have no money to your name, but if you have all the effort, you will still be successful because you will find a way to hustle up something to make your first good sale. And that first good sale could set you off into a business, if a really successful business, if you keep the money rolling. So when I bought that first T-Mobile Sidekick for 35 and sold it for 70, that's all I needed to keep that money rolling. All I needed to do was double up one time. And if you go to the flea markets and you have $5 to your name, you could literally find something at a flea market that you could sell for 30, for 50, for $100 sometimes. And all just that first sale can catapult you into a successful business. It does not take a lot. It does not take anything special to start this business and end up successful in this business. It's no money for you to go there and help those people sort and then pick the clothes that you want. It doesn't cost you. There's no entrance fee. You don't have to pay $20 to go there and pick. So, but it did take effort to find that connection. And I think a lot of people just like wait for stuff to fall on their laps. But like waiting costs you money, but like effort costs you no money.
Yesenia is asking, how do you go about figuring out which category to go into? I'll give you a couple examples. So the first 10 items that I'm listing that I own, 2 of them are books. So local to me, Reezy Resells is down the street. Most of his business is going to library sales and half price books and all these different places that have these local book sales. If you wanted to sell books, you would start investigating where are books in your area coming from, and that might be sparked by you just selling a bunch of books like your college textbooks or some books that you're not really reading or using. That would start you down the book path. If you wanted to sell shoes in my area, I would say the top opportunity would be DSW. They are always running those coupons. Like if you buy one shoe, they'll give you another coupon for 20% off. You could go into their sections and look at the different colors. When items are 50% off and you get another 20% coupon and you sign up for their email address and you're getting a $100 pair of shoes for $13, you start to figure out how to exploit that. There's dozens of those stores. You would get into that niche. If you're selling electronics, you can even buy returns from Best Buy. In the beginning, when you walk into the store, there's that electronics recycling area there. You can investigate and find out where those are from. The local running shoe stores here don't resell returns. You could go to your local running shoe stores and ask what happens to the shoes that come in and they don't get resold. You need whatever thing you pick, just start figuring out where they come from. That the definition of sourcing is figuring out where they originate.
Yeah, we have someone in the group that does golf clubs, and he goes to golf courses to find golf clubs.
Yep.
So I think the best way to figure out like what category you want to do is in the beginning you have to do like all the categories. You have to be the jack of all trades because you don't have a lot of knowledge on any one thing most of the time. And you just have to sell items. You have to figure out what you enjoyed doing and what you did not enjoy doing. I did not enjoy packing up electronics, and I was not an expert at shipping at the time, and I did not enjoy them breaking on the way sometimes. I did not enjoy those messages from customers who were upset because the item broke. I did not enjoy the customer service that came along with people who didn't know how to use a computer, didn't know how to use a phone, didn't know how to use an iPod. I didn't enjoy the large amount of returns. I didn't enjoy the large dollar amount in returns. So that told me I don't want to pack this stuff. I don't want to ship this stuff. I don't want to have a month-long relationship with the customer explaining to them how to use Windows XP. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I want to sell a shirt. A shirt will not break in the mail, and everybody knows how to use a shirt. And around here, clothing is plentiful and it's cheap. So that's what I decided to go after. So you have to sell a bunch of stuff and you have to eliminate the things that you don't want to do. And I did not want to do those things anymore. So I chose not to do them. And by choosing not to do them, yeah, I passed by that iPhone at the flea market that's $1 that I could sell for $100 or $200. But I don't want to do it. I just want to sell clothes, and that's all I want to do. And by me only selling clothes, I'm going to make more money than screwing around with this iPhone that's going to need an extra cable that maybe the earpiece doesn't work, and now I got to sell it for parts, and when I sell it for parts, the customer doesn't read that it's for parts. They send it back item not as described, and then I have to sell it again. So you have to eliminate what you don't want to deal with, what you're not successful at, and narrow in on what you are successful at, what you do want to deal with. And hopefully those items are plentiful where you're at. And then you'll be able to build that business around those items.